Good morning, guys. I'm Blackie for Shaman's Forge Woodscraft. And today we're going to talk about winter. We're going to talk about how to stay warm in winter. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what it is and how it is that we stay warm. Now, I've covered this in an earlier video series, but I'm going to give you an expedited version of it. Alright, recently, as many of you know, I went to Ohio to go to Dan Lutz's trapping class up there. He lives in Xenia, Ohio, but we held it at the Pathfinder School in Jackson, Ohio. 2 days before I got there, the low was like 7 degrees. Yeah, it set some new records up there. Now, I am not acclimated to this environment. Acclimated, that's a big fancy word that means I'm not used to this environment. Where I'm at in my part of the South, just 3 weeks ago I still had 95-degree temperatures. So my body has had no time to acclimate to such a severe temperature swing. So here's the things that I did in order to do this weather, do this cold. The first thing you got to understand is that bedding, sleeping bags, wool sweaters produce no heat on their own. We are producing the heat. And all they're doing is trapping this heat. So what we need to do is to focus ways to generate heat and focus ways to trap heat. And let me get you a little bit closer to the board up here, and we're going to talk about this right now. Okay, let us talk about heat and where it comes from. There are 3 sources of warming that occur with us when we're out in this environment. The first is a mechanical warming. Mechanical means that I am physically doing something. A byproduct of my muscles working as I chop wood, as I carry that, as I climb that, as I run, whatever. A byproduct of that is heat. And that's how we warm ourselves. Blood and other fluids within the body will circulate that heat throughout the body to keep us warm. So that's the reason when we're on the go and we're moving, we're a lot warmer than we are at rest, because once we stop at rest, this starts evaporating. It's just what we made up, and as it's being used up, it's not being replaced. There is some minor going on, but we'll get to that in a minute. The second one is not a mechanical energy, but it's a chemical energy. Chemical energy. That's the process of where the body does digestion and things like this. This is chemical actions where we're converting sugars and amino acids and whatever else that we've ingested into warmth. Again, it's a byproduct or something from like that. So what I eat can affect this, how much heat I am generating. And then the third one. External. This is some other component. The environment itself. A fire. Something that's warm and radiating heat. It's some other external source that we're basking in the glow of, so to speak, to keep us warm. So, there is mechanical, me doing it. There is chemical, the body doing some sort of digestion. And then there is an external heat source. This is how we maintain around us an environment, or within us, to keep our core temperature up and keep our bodies functioning at a proper temperature for us to function. Now, let's look at a couple of these right quick. Mechanical energy. This is not just pumping of the bones and stuff like that. It's also some involuntary ones, like our heart pumping, like when we eat, our digestion system, our stomach sitting there doing that, generating heat as it goes through the process of breaking down the food for that. The chemical energy comes next. It flows immediately over into that. External, we're sitting next to the campfire, or we have a hot rock sitting there we heated up earlier, or this slab of rock that was heated by the sun during the day, and at night it radiates heat back. You see what I'm saying? Those are the 3 primary ways we're going to stay warm in the environment. Now, take our body, okay? 3 zones of the body. The head, torso, and the legs. The legs are what normally goes cold on us first. Why? Well, it's the farthest from the heart and the mechanical energies and things like that once we've stopped. Okay? The body has to make sacrifices. It has to decide. If you've got a great big old house and these rooms are empty and these rooms are occupied, you're going to turn the heat down in there to keep the heat over here, right? Well, the body does the same thing. But the other thing is, right there, the head. In the head is the brain, and the body will go out of its way to keep the head warm. And I see this so many times where people bring really good bed covers and stuff like that, and they lay down, and their head is bare. There's nothing on their head. The body will dump massive amounts of heat trying to keep this brain warm. So much so it will rob from the other zones of the body, trying to keep that brain warm. I have heard the numbers, although I have personally never calculated it out, guys. But I remember some military journal talking about how up to 80% of the body heat could be lost out of the top of the head in extreme cold conditions, and I believe it. So, headgear, head layering is as important as the body. With a good, warm supply on the head and a good torso, the arms and legs are okay within reason. You'll find a way to keep that circulation. But the core temperature in this head has got to be kept warm. Now, the core temperature, the center part of the body, that's where you're going to have the heart function, which produces a minute amount as it goes through its action of pumping. So it's warming the blood, a minute amount. You've got mechanical energy of the stomach and the intestines as they're doing it. The lungs and all do not generate a whole lot. The muscle action of breathing does not generate a whole lot. This is just a trickle that only becomes life or death in the most extreme of cases. So we don't want to rely on that. And then down here, the legs and the extremities. Being so far away, we need to do something to help keep that blood going and returning and maintain a warmth there. So I'm probably going to need more insulation there than I think I really should, just like I need more insulation on my head than I think I really should. Okay? So, for me, what I have found, and not only am I down here in the South, but I've worked for companies for years where I travel all over the country in extreme conditions. I was putting military and weather radars all over the country. And I had to work in extreme conditions, blizzard conditions, because the contract says this date, they don't care you got a blizzard, get it up. And so I had to get out there in those environments. So I learned from people who had real experience in this kind of stuff. And I applied it back to my little South where we don't have that kind of temperatures, but it's helped me stay warm in extreme environments. So, the head. Make sure that you have some sort of heavy, bulky, fluffy head cover. If nothing else, take a towel, wrap it around your head. Take the leftover jacket that you're not going to wear, wrap it around your head. Whatever, when you lay down to sleep, insulate that head. I just want a hole that I can breathe out of. I still want to breathe fresh air. I want slightly warmed air. So when I cover up, I'm going to have it kind of shielded where, not completely enclosed, but I want to play a pocket like I'm breathing into, so as I exhale, I'm warming, and the new air coming in has to go through that. Now it warms up there going into my lungs to help maintain my core temperature. You see guys with a scarf wrapped around their face like this. It keeps in extreme cold temperatures, ice and stuff from forming up here. But at the same time, it helps warm the next layer coming in, okay? The next flow. So the head has to be kept warm. The torso. I want to make sure that I have stuff that can move with me. But remember, I'm breathing. And so I need that to go up and down easily. If it's tight, it's restrictive. Restrictive is bad in cold conditions. I want dead airspace pockets. If it's tight against me, heat is just simply going to radiate through it and be gone. Now let's talk about that for just a second here. And I'm not picking on the ladies, but ladies are the worst one for this, at least down here in my South. Right here you have bare skin. This is a leg. It's radiating out heat. And what they do is they go and put on a pair of blue jeans that are skin tight against it. As the heat is produced, it goes, because it's in direct contact, through that material, and then it flows upward due to thermodynamics, heat convection. This is sucking heat out of the body and carrying it up. There's no transition space here. So you're actually colder like this. On the other hand, if I have, let's say, a leg, and I have a layer that's out here, this is the leg, out here, and I've got dead air space in these areas, I'm warmer, because my leg is still going to produce that heat. It's going to come out and turn, but it's trapped in this air pocket. And now that air gets to circulate around. I got to make that BTU of heat fight to get away from me. Now this is going to be my base layer. My base layer is usually something that's going to make me a little fluffier, such as long underwear, long insulated underwear. Its job is not to be the end-all be-all. Its job is to make, in essence, my skin thicker. I need a more contact surface for that heat to kind of have to wiggle its way through, that convection current to get through. Now, on the outside of this, I'm going to put another layer. And that other layer, I prefer it to be something that's dense, tight, thick weave, something like that, or something that the air doesn't flow through easily. It's not a true thermal barrier, but I don't want air to flow through it easily. So something that's a thicker, heavier, tighter weave clothing of some kind. Modern materials work for this as well, so long as it does not, if you can take it and just blow straight through it, But if you have to bear down and you feel a resistance going through it, that's pretty good. I want that to be a slower down. I want, as that warm air current is trying to get out of my body, as I'm walking, as I'm moving, as I'm whatever, I want that current to have to fight to get through that, to not just blow through it. I want it to be like a toll bridge, slow them up, keep them from getting out of me. Now I've got multiple layers there of warmth. So I have my skin, I have the thermal layer that's going to trap, make, in essence, my skin thicker, so that the thermal dynamic has to work its way out. Then it goes into a pocket of warm air. Now that becomes a circulation current. And then from that, the outer layer does not allow that air current to get out easily. That is how I stay warm in cold environments. I make each layer work in tandem with the next layer. Instead of just piling on more layers with no thought of what those layers do, I want each layer to perform a different function. I got a lot of this, like I mentioned in an earlier video, where I was reading about the guys that climbed Everest and stuff like that, and they would alternate between layers of wool and layers of silk. Well, silk doesn't generate any heat. No, but it's dense, and it's hard for the air to get through, and it also was slick. And because of that wool layer, if you had wool layer and wool layer and wool layer, they want to lock together, and it's really difficult to move your legs. It's, bend your arm. The material doesn't want to slide. By alternating between that and silks, they would slide very easily. Also, it would be the heat would come out and would get trapped into a wool layer. The wool layer would then have to go through a silk layer to get into another wool layer, to finally an outer silk layer, and then probably on the very outside was a cover thing that was kind of waterproof for the snow. Again, something that was hard for the air current to get through. By building these dams, we'll call it, warmth dams, at intervals and alternating what they're doing, you're getting a more cohesive structure here to help hold the heat, because you're generating the heat. It's valuable and it's hard to generate. We got to eat to generate this. We got to work to generate this. And so I want every BTU to have to work to get out. A good analogy that someone told me many years ago was like, you've got a boat that's got a small hole in it. You have to stop and bail every so often or you're going to sink. Well, what do you do when you lay down and stop for the night? You want to put something that makes it hard for that water to get in, or get out in this case, so that you've got a long interval between you got to stop and bail. I want long intervals between I've got to stop and get up and warm up or eat or something like that. So if I stack my layers up and make my layers work together as a unit, I'm in a better position. Hope this gives you some ideas, guys. Please leave any questions or comments below. And until next time, I'm Blackie for Shaman's Forge, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.